Now, for price increases, again, that's one of the benefits of dealing with us is we go into that difficult conversation, but we bring in things like cost of doing business, inflation, and various other things. If you're doing a great job, they'll accept it. I mean, you're not going to jack them up 20% each year. It might be a 5% increase. It might be a modest increase, and it's negotiable. But again, talk value, talk about the advantage. If you're doing it right, it shouldn't be a big deal. But if they're talking price right off the bat, they're not somebody you want to talk to. You're marketing the wrong way.
It's very hard to say, how do I increase my revenue and not feel a feeling of loss? And I've learned the best concept of like, are you dealing with elves or halves? And it's a really good way to filter people. Are they hard, annoying, even frustrating? Or are they easy, lucrative, and fun? Really, you really want to, it's easy to qualify something we're losing as a lot. I asked my daughter to get rid of any of her stuff. It's all worth gold. Yet I can't get her to pick it up off the floor. So appreciating the fact that when you raise your prices, the people who are already really lucrative are probably going to stay on. And it's not like you can't give them a discount. Make sure it's even on their file so that way they see that they're special. But by increasing what you're charging, all you're doing is giving yourself more resources to help people better. Whatever loss happens in that, that's just nature. Trees drop twigs every season. They don't feel like they're losing anything. So like, I love the question, but the scarcity mindset built into it really wants to be addressed. You should concern yourself about losing customers you love when you do this, and willing to say, you know what, here's my plan originally. I'd like to do that at half pace. I can't afford to consistently give you this great service at the current rate, but instead of going up 5% over this year, we'll go 5% over the next 2 years, but still being very firm. And we have to raise our prices and play with terms to make them happy, but do not be worried about losing those people. If you think it's a great business that you make a difference, you can always make the exception, but you have to start with raising the bar and then only accepting when you know they are an elf. They're easy, fun, and lucrative, and be grateful to lose those annoying, hard customers. You'll lose a little sleep the first week, but I assure you, next month, like a baby.
And Ted, you had some thoughts?
A fun question I often have with my clients over lunch, and that is having to do with pricing, is if we could make something for a nickel, is it ethical to sell it for $100?
Yeah. Not necessarily.
Did you design it?
That's a conversation that can go on for days.
Yep.
True, so true, so true.
How many are you going to sell? If you're only selling one, then $100.
Right.
Yeah. But if you got 1 million of them, well, there's an ethical issue.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Another, let's say, amusing direction that it can go is if there's really that big a profit margin, you know, what do you do with the guy who can't make it for less than $20 but is willing to sell it for $80?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good points. Definitely. Well, I know sometimes I use price increases to help clients that are not necessarily a good match for me any longer to move on. And so they won't want to pay the increased price, so they can make the decisions themselves. But then I'm always surprised when some of those people have no problem paying the higher price. And you're like, darn, I got to be with them for another year. But that helps. I think that can make a difference. And also, I think that if you're really involved with your client, you know, you're not just doing financials or doing the service or selling the product, but people know you and connect with you. They generally can't imagine life without you. So, because I know I've said to some of my, clients that I am their CFO, is that, probably in a couple of years I might retire. And they get like this really panicked look on their face. And so I'm like, no, that's okay. You'll be taken care of. But it tells me that they value me and actually see me as part of their team. So why wouldn't they pay me more? I mean, they're going to give their employees raises, right? So hello. So Doug, how do you sell your product? How do you price your product?
Well, that's a hard thing for me because, my product involves shipping, and shipping's not cheap. And so, and my salsa is not like paste picante sauce where you buy it in the store for a couple bucks. Our salsa is more expensive. That has, has a unique flavor and heat profile and all that. A lot better than the stuff that you buy in the store. But trying to convince somebody to pay $7 or $7.50 a jar, I do some sales in person at shows, and I sample. And usually when they sample, they buy. And so, and usually at a show, what I do is I price it at $7.50 for one jar or two for 14 to encourage them to buy more. But on my website, I actually sell it for $7 plus the tax and the insurance. So, but I can't really lower my price much more than that. And I'm afraid to raise my price because then I might alienate a lot of people. So.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if we were using the virtual hands or not.
Oh, no, whatever works.
Cool. I think it's always interesting. Now, there's a lady down the street from me. She has a salon. She started it probably nearly 20 years ago, and she every single week or every single month, her new hairstylist do a survey, and then they decide when they've reached a level when they've got enough good, consistent 4-star reviews that they increase the prices, and then they send a letter out. And that letter actually says, hey, my prices are increasing to this amount. I understand if you cannot afford that, but that's what they're going to be at now. And the offset there is that most of them, because they're dedicated to that hairstylist now, that's their person, and they're fine with it. The ones that fall off were probably not a good match anyway. They didn't fully align. And so it makes up for all that they're missing, but now there's openings, and you have all these amazing demonstrations and these beautiful testimonials and recommendations based upon that. And I always just loved it. I thought that model was really cool.
Pricing is sometimes an issue, but because you're competing against a lot of people, there's a lot of people in the area that do it. But you kind of got to read what the customer sends you, and it may be through a bash or somebody else, and you got to read and look at their budget and this and that and go from there. There's some points where you just cannot go low enough, and I don't try to do that, but there are people that would like you to, just because they don't have the money. And I think they're actually in the wrong format for doing what they want to do, because they want so much for so little in their budget. And they just don't realize it. So we have to, I kind of build a basic, and then up from that, and then up from that. And, and if you want the full package, then it's going to cost you. But if you want to start out just basic, then here's my bottom line. So
Sure, so you have like add-ons that they can do. And I think that you have a challenge similar to Doug. Doug sells his salsa, which apparently is fantastic. And so, Doug, I don't know if you put your information in the chat, but you might want to do that so we can all check out your salsa. But he deals with shipping as part of his cost. And then, Michael, you deal with travel, I would imagine. Like sometimes it's not a big deal, but other times. So that can eat into your profit.
Yeah, we charge our mileage extra, How far away are you? If you're within 50 miles, it doesn't cost you anything. If you go over that, then it starts costing you to bring us into your area. So that works.
Yeah, great.
I haven't had a problem.
Great, well, that's good. That's a good thing.